Okay, let's jump right in. For years, I mean decades really, Mary Meeker's Internet Trends reports were just the thing, the signal.
Oh, absolutely. If you were serious about tech, you read them, period. They really nailed where things were heading.
Exactly. Told you where the wind was blowing, sometimes way before everyone else felt the gale.
Yeah.
And now, well, Mary Meeker and the team at Bondi, they've zeroed in on AI.
And this time it feels different, doesn't it? Less like just another trend, more like a fundamental reshaping of, well, everything.
Totally. Feels massive. So our mission for this deep dive is, look, let's cut through the hype, cut through the noise. We've got the brand new Bondi 2025 AI Trends Report right here.
Which is dense, let's be honest. Lots of slides.
Loads of slides. And we're mixing that with insights from, 7 other really sharp commentaries, people like Jason Lemkin at SaaStr, Joe Olson, Nate Substack.
Yeah, some really good critical takes too. So the goal for you listening, probably a founder, maybe the VC, is to pull out the most important business stuff, the investment angles.
Quickly. Actionable insights, maybe some questions you should be asking at your next board meeting. That's the plan. No fluff.
Let's do it. Where do we start? The sheer scale.
Yeah, gotta start there.
Yeah.
Because the big picture from Bondi is just unprecedented growth. If you feel like AI is moving faster than anything you've seen in tech before, the data says you're right. It really backs that feeling up.
It really does. I mean, look at the user adoption curves. They make the early internet look, well, kind of slow, actually.
Right. That leading US LLM they mentioned.
Yeah.
6 million users to 800 million in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
That's just, wow, nobody saw that coming.
Nobody. And the fact that, global internet users are ramping with AI right from the get-go, that didn't happen before. That's totally new territory.
And it's not just the users, it's the developers.
Yeah.
Which historically is always the key indicator, right? Developer momentum predicts platform winners.
Absolutely. And the numbers there are exploding too. NVIDIA's ecosystem, 6x growth to 6 million devs?
Over 7 years, yeah. And Google's 5x growth year over year to 7 million. That's huge.
It is. And you see AI tool adoption among devs jumping from 44% to 63% in just 1 year. GitHub repos for AI projects up, 175%?
Something like that. It's just builders flocking to these new tools. They see the potential.
And all that building is being bankrolled by just staggering amounts of capital. The CAPEX, the capital expenditure from the U.S. Big Six tech giants.
Apple, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, Meta.
Yeah, them. Their spending accelerated 63% just in 2023-2024, hitting $212 billion.
$212 billion. Let that sink in. And that spending is a percentage of the revenue. It's jumped from 8% a decade ago to 15% now.
That's not just buying a few more servers. That's building AI factories, massive data centers.
Like XAI's Colossus thing, supposedly built in just 122 days. Incredible speed.
But, and this is the big but, they raise these CAPEX cycles. They have long payback periods. And you're starting to hit real bottlenecks. Supply chain issues, sure, but also the power. Just getting enough electricity.
Yeah, power availability is becoming a really significant hurdle. We'll come back to that. But this investment spike, it mirrors innovation signals, right? Like patents.
Exactly. U.S. computing patents exploded after Netscape went public back in '95. Well, the report shows they've exploded even faster since ChatGPT launched. The pace is just relentless.
Okay, so stepping back. Why does this huge macro picture matter to you, the listener, the founder, the VC?
Well, it's about market timing, isn't it? This scale signals enormous near-term opportunities, massive TAM expansion.
And the CAPEX flood tells you exactly where the big money thinks the foundational value is infrastructure, core capabilities.
It also screams intensity. The opportunity is huge, yes, but the competition is fierce, and the baseline investment required is just on another level. It sets the stage for everything else.
Right. So let's get into the stack itself, because how value is created, how it's captured, that's changing fast.
Yeah.
And that affects where your moat, your defensibility actually lies.
The sources lay out that familiar stack, right? Infra at the bottom, then the model, adapters maybe, then the application layer on top. Pretty standard stuff.
But what's not standard, and this is something Joe Olson really emphasizes in his commentary, is that the differentiation purely at the model level seems to be narrowing fast.
Right. That amazing performance advantage your model had 6 months ago, it might be matched by an open source model next quarter. AI is becoming this, tech equalizer.
Exactly. So Olson argues, if the model itself isn't the sustainable moat anymore, where do you build your defensibility?
And his answer is further up the stack.
Yeah. It's in the workflow you enable, the deep relationship you build with the user, the overall user experience that keeps them coming back. That's where the value accrues.
Which makes perfect sense and leads directly to this idea of orchestration being key. Olson really stresses this. It's not about the individual AI bits and pieces, it's how you stitch them together. Models, yes, but also workflows, people, business decisions.
It's bespoke. Real AI transformation isn't just buying an API key. It's building that internal capability to manage and orchestrate all these moving parts.
And he makes that great point. Would you tell your board you're outsourcing your entire core operating model? Probably not. So relying completely on third parties for this critical AI orchestration, it's risky.
He even suggests orchestration managers might be the new hot job title, replacing data scientists in importance.
Interesting. And all of this sits on top of some pretty wild economics, right? The cost dynamics are shifting dramatically.
Totally. Training the biggest, baddest frontier models, still super expensive, maybe even getting more so.
Right.
But the cost of using the inference cost is just plummeting, down like 99.7% in 2 years. That's insane.
And the energy needed per token, per unit of output on NVIDIA's chips, down something like 105,000 times over 10 years. Mind-boggling efficiency gains.
That cycle falling costs.
Yeah.
Improving performance. It's happening way, way faster than we saw with electricity or computer memory or other big tech shifts.
It changes the fundamental unit economics.
Maybe quickly define tokens, because that's the currency here.
Good point. Yeah, think of tokens as bits of text the AI processes. 1 million tokens is roughly, say, 750,000 words, or maybe 5,000 typical ChatGPT answers.
Got it. So that cost per token is what's dropping like a stone.
Exactly. So if you're a founder or investor, what does this all mean for your business? That falling inference cost. It could radically change your margins, your cost per user.
And if the model isn't the moat, where are you building yours? Is it unique data? A killer workflow? Deep customer integration?
Are you building that orchestration muscle internally, or are you becoming dependent on others? How does this rewrite your assumptions about CAP customer acquisition cost and LTV, lifetime value? These are the board level questions now.
Okay, shifting gears. How are companies actually making money with AI? What are the go-to-market plays we're seeing?
Well, the sources point to a few clear paths emerging. You've got consumer subscriptions, obviously. OpenAI, Anthropic, Perplexity.
The direct model providers.
Then there's a huge boom in enterprise SaaS companies building very specialized AI tools for specific industries or functions.
And the infrastructure players, naturally. Oracle, CoreWeave selling the picks and shovels.
And maybe the biggest category, the incumbents. The Microsofts, Googles, Adobes. They're embedding AI features deep inside their existing products, leveraging their distribution.
And some of the growth numbers for the AI native startups are just off the charts. Jaw-dropping, really.
Yeah, OpenAI's revenue estimated up over 1,000% annually to $3.7 billion. Just wow.
Or Glean, the enterprise search company, 10x ARR growth, hitting $100 million in just 2 years.
A Bridge in healthcare AI, $50 million to $117 million ARR in like 5 months. Harvey in legal tech, $50 million ARR in about 15 months. Decagon, customer support, $1 million to $10 million ARR in a year.
The data suggests these AI companies are hitting that $5 million ARR mark, something like 35% faster than comparable SaaS companies just a few years ago. It's hypergrowth.
Driven by real utility, presumably. But the big guys aren't sleeping. Microsoft Copilot, 15 billion chats logged already?
Yeah.
Their AI business is reportedly at a $13 billion run rate.
Adobe Firefly, billions of image generations. Zoom's AI companion in 4 million accounts. Canva's Magic Studio, 10 billion uses. They're pushing AI out hard through their existing channels.
Embedding it everywhere, horizontally and vertically, rolling it into existing buying motions. Smart.
Which brings up a really interesting future-gazing point from the report, this idea of agent-first interfaces.
Yeah, the idea that instead of juggling 10 different apps, you'll have one AI agent managing things behind the scenes.
Exactly. It manages your email, calendar, search, tasks, all through one conversational layer. If that happens, where does the value shift? Is it owning the individual app anymore?
Or is it owning that agent layer, the orchestrator of your digital life? That feels like a major potential disruption.
And you see Google, OpenAI, XAI, all investing heavily in these kinds of deep research or deep search agent capabilities.
So, for you listening, how do you play this? Are you building a specialized AI tool aiming for that crazy ARR growth?
Or are you embedding AI into something existing? How do you price things when the underlying inference cost keeps falling?
And maybe most importantly, what does that agent-first future mean for your product? Does your app even have a direct interface in 5 years, or is it just feeding data to an agent? Big strategic questions.
Okay, let's zoom out again to the competitive landscape.
Yeah.
Because, man, it is heating up. It feels like a global race on multiple fronts.
Definitely. You're seeing just a fire hose of new large-scale AI models being released, not just text, but multimodal vision, speech. The numbers are climbing incredibly fast across the board.
And a huge piece of this is the rise of open source, right? Olson mentioned this too.
Absolutely. Open source models are gaining serious traction, especially in areas where people really want control or need cost efficiency or have privacy concerns. Think regulated industries.
Models like Meta's Llama. Huge download numbers. And they seem to be closing that performance gap with the closed proprietary models faster than a lot of people expected.
And often at a fraction of the training cost, which is key.
But it's not quite that simple, is it?
Yeah.
Olson also pointed out that for many users, especially in the enterprise or consumer space,
right, the open source options often lack that polished UX, the managed services, the hand-holding that the big guys offer, which still matters a lot for adoption. It's a trade-off.
And then there's the big one. USA versus China. The report literally calls it a space race.
Yeah, and it feels like it. Both governments see AI as absolutely critical for geopolitical influence, and they're investing like crazy.
And China seems to be moving incredibly fast this time. Much faster AI deployment than their internet ramp-up back in the day.
They're catching up on performance, too. Models like DeepSeek, Alibaba's Qwen, they're getting really good really quickly.
Now, the U.S. still dominates the list of top public companies by market cap globally, much more so than in, say, 1995.
True, but China's Tencent is right up there in the top 10. And you can't forget TSMC in Taiwan basically building the chips that power this whole revolution. They're pivotal.
And this competition isn't just about algorithms. It's about controlling strategic resources, rare earth minerals, semiconductor manufacturing capacity.
Yeah, the whole supply chain. And you see it filtering down to user share. U.S. LLMs still lead globally on desktop, but China's share is climbing fast. DeepSeek is growing rapidly on mobile, especially in China and Russia.
Though ChatGPT still seems to hold the overall global lead in mobile active users for now.
For now. So as a company, where do you fit? Are you leveraging open source strategically? How does the U.S.-China dynamic affect your supply chain, your access to talent, your plans for international expansion?
These aren't abstract geopolitical questions anymore. They have direct business impact that you need to factor into your strategy.
Okay, let's talk risks and challenges, because it's not all smooth sailing. We mentioned the huge CAPEX.
Yeah, let's double-click on that. This is a capital-intensive game right now. Data center construction in the U.S. is booming, up nearly 50% annually.
But building them isn't just about the building itself. It requires massive upgrades to the underlying power grid transformers, substations, stuff that takes time and serious money.
And that connects directly to the energy crunch. Data centers already use, 1.5% of global electricity? And that demand is growing 12% a year.
The report puts it bluntly, no AI without energy. That escalating power demand, the grid limitations, that's a major bottleneck, a serious risk.
Are you, as a founder, factoring rising energy costs and potential power shortages into your long-term infra plans? You have to.
And then there's governance, safety, compliance. Always important, but now front and center. Olson's point was interesting.
The companies are moving past just saying no to AI due to risk.
Exactly. They're figuring out how to use it within constraints. Building systems you can actually audit, monitor, test like regular software, making sure the AI genuinely reduces errors, not creates new ones.
And governments are definitely not standing still. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security has an AI roadmap now.
Plus, you're seeing more and more countries pushing for sovereign AI, wanting to build their own capabilities, keep their data local. That changes the rules for global companies.
So, beyond the tech build, are you planning for energy costs and constraints? Are you building auditable, compliant AI systems from the ground up? Are you tracking regulations and these sovereign AI moves?
And critically, what's the realistic CAPEX timeline you need to communicate to your board or your LPs, given this infrastructure build-out? Be honest about it.
Let's talk about people. The workforce impact is massive. The data is pretty stark here.
Yeah, AI job postings, up almost 450% since 2018, while non-AI IT jobs are actually down slightly.
That's not just correlation. Companies like Shopify are saying it explicitly. Using AI tools effectively is becoming a baseline expectation.
That Duolingo story is amazing, building a whole chess course with AI by people who didn't code or even know chess well. It just shows how AI can unlock productivity in totally new ways.
Jensen Huang's quote is perfect, right? You're not going to lose your job to an AI.
But to somebody who uses AI, yeah, that should be echoing in every boardroom.
So this forces a rethink of talent strategy, of org design. Maybe you do need those orchestration managers Olson talked about.
You definitely need new training programs. How do you make your existing workforce AI fluent? Look at Apple, hiring hundreds specifically for generative AI roles. It's a major human capital shift.
And it's not just about digital work. AI is moving into the physical world. Cars, robots, machines, defense.
The report calls them physical agents. It's a great term. Think Tesla's self-driving miles skyrocketing, Waymo grabbing real rideshare in cities like SF.
Companies like Applied Intuition building simulation tools for autonomous systems in trucking, defense, and Dural's revenues doubling year over year in AI defense tech.
Even in agriculture. Carbon robotics using AI to zap weeds. Halter putting smart collars on cows for grazing management.
It's about turning physical assets, trucks, tractors, drones into software endpoints, making intelligence kinetic, as they put it, moving bits and atoms.
That's a huge, maybe still underestimated, frontier for AI.
So for you listening, how does this change your hiring? Your org chart? What training does your team need now to be the ones using AI effectively?
And if you're in any kind of physical industry, are you seriously exploring how this kinetic intelligence could transform your operations? Turn your hardware into smart software-driven assets. That's a whole new strategic conversation.
Okay, let's bring it back to the investor viewpoint. Capital, valuations, returns. What's the bottom line picture from these sources?
Well, the current phase looks like potentially high revenue growth, definitely high cash burn for many of the AI native startups, high valuations, and just generally high levels of investment pouring in.
The private market valuations for foundation models, yeah, they're steep. Very high multiples compared to current revenue.
Public tech company multiples are more varied, but the median estimate for EV to next 12 months revenue is still pretty healthy, around 6.9x according to the report.
And it helps to remember history, right? Think about Amazon in the early days, or Google, or Uber. Tesla.
Exactly. They all burned incredible amounts of cash building scale before hitting profitability. Amazon lost $3 billion over its first 27 quarters, then made $176 billion in the next 27.
Google spent something like 22% of its early revenue just on CAPEX. So the playbook for these hyper-growth, capital-intensive markets can look scary early on.
But the fundamental principle holds. Valuation is ultimately about the present value of future free cash flows. The path there just might be longer and require more upfront investment this time.
So based on everything we've discussed, where do the key investment areas seem to be?
The sources point pretty clearly to compute and infrastructure chips, data centers, the AI clouds. That's foundational. Foundation models themselves, both the big closed ones and the rising open source players. Specialized AI software, those vertical apps with the crazy ARR growth, and horizontal AI platforms tools embedding intelligence across business functions.
Okay, let's wrap with some actionable questions, the kind you should be asking in your next meeting, whether you're building, investing, or advising.
First up, how does AI fundamentally change our cost structure? Specifically, CAPEX needs and ongoing inference costs.
What do our unit economics, CAC, and LTV truly look like in an AI-powered world? Do the old models still hold?
If the model isn't the moat, where is our defensible advantage? Is it UX, data, workflow, relationships? Be specific.
What's our strategy around platform risk? How do we decide what orchestration capabilities we absolutely must build internally versus relying on third parties?
Are we actively adapting how we hire, train, and structure our teams for an AI-enabled workforce? Are we behind the curve?
Are we identifying and acting on opportunities to use AI in the physical world to make our assets smarter?
And finally, how are those big geopolitical currents, especially US-China, affecting our specific supply chain, our talent access, our market positioning? Don't ignore it.
Okay, that was a lot. But this deep dive, really, it's just a snapshot. The pace of change here means you just have to keep learning.
Constantly. What's true today might be outdated in 6 months.
So the core themes are clear. Unprecedented speed, falling costs, fueling rising performance, massive investment, reshaping everything from software code to physical machinery.
A landscape just full of massive opportunities, but also some really significant complex challenges to navigate. Energy, governance, talent.
Right. Yeah. So here's a final thought to chew on, something to ponder based on all this. With this clear trend towards agentic interfaces, AI potentially becoming the first way many people experience the internet.
Especially in emerging markets.
Who ultimately owns that customer relationship? Who owns the interface? Who owns the logic of how work actually gets done in this new era? Is it the company building the base model? Is it the company best at orchestrating the workflows? Or is it whoever manages to build that winning agent experience for the next billion users? That feels like the trillion-dollar question right now.